last week. Thanks for all the comments for people that came in there. Thanks for anybody that hung in there. We're in a war zone, as it were, in the hotel room and had limited internet. But this is Fearless Flight Live, our weekly show. For anybody who has a fear of flying, or knows somebody who has a fear of flying, or just likes to talk airplanes like we do from time to time. Our goal is to help you change the way that you think about flying, and got my trusty aide here, wingman, and all around Chief Technical Officer Dieter Stonier, coming live from Toronto after having been sick this week. I'm glad to see that you are better.
Hey, Captain.
We missed you last week for sure. And Eric is in the skies as we speak, requalifying in the 767. We mentioned. Oh, go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
We mentioned a couple of weeks ago how one of the things that Boeing did years ago was they built a couple airplanes, the 757 and the 767, that are vastly different in terms of number of people they hold. The 767 is a wide body, the 757 is a narrow body. And but they made the certification process so Eric is flying the 7.5 and the 7.6, so it means he can switch back and forth on a given trip. He can fly a couple legs in the 7.5 and a couple in the 7.6. But he does have to have 3 landings and takeoffs and landings every 90 days. So because he flies out of Phoenix, or he mostly flies the 757, so he gets to a point where he has to go out and pick up a trip in the 7.6 to keep his landing frequency. So that was his excuse for tonight.
That's still a pretty good excuse, because he's still getting to be wheels up somewhere.
We got a 30-second. We got a poll question coming up here. We're going to talk about some experiences I had coaching this week. A little bit about how that plays in fear of flying. We got a quick aviation news roundup with a couple of briefing. We're going to retouch on something that Eric and I talked about last week, since we didn't have a great connection out there. And then we got a special for you coming up at the end. So let's go back. Let's do the poll question first.
Okay.
And what we wanted to talk about is we got this in the form of a survey. And we're going to start spitting out some results for our big survey, but this is a special one here. So if you would go to FLF link /turbulence-poll, and the question is about turbulence. We want to get your input on that. And do you have that on a slide, Peter?
I don't, but basically all we want to know from you is here. I can try actually see.
Yeah, we'll open the survey. That's good.
I just might have to pull it over from the other screen.
Yeah, hopefully this will be what you folks see.
All right. So what we have here, that's our 30-second turbulence poll.
It's small there, but it says knowing about possible turbulence on my upcoming flight makes me, and then you got a slider there. On the left is less anxious, in the middle doesn't matter, and the right more anxious. So if you would go in there and put the slider where it's appropriate for you, and then down below we got an open answered question. Number 2 is why. So knowing about possible turbulence on my upcoming flight makes me less anxious to more anxious. Passing through doesn't matter in the middle, and then 2, why. What's the story you tell yourself about knowing, when you know about turbulence, is forecast in there. Some of you go to turbulence.com, some of you go to weather.com. We've talked about that in the past. We're just curious to see where all of you are on that. So if you would, whether you're watching us live right now or watching the replay, please go over there to that link and do that. Okay, I had a couple of relevant coaching sessions this year. A couple of things I wanted to talk about. One, and these are in all 3 of these coaching sessions were follow-up coaching sessions that they each were getting ready to fly. Hadn't flown for a while, or in the case of Andrew, had a bad experience. And so the first one, this person went through one of our 201 classes here, and the good news is she's doing famously. She's really, really doing well, and she's doing so well that she wrote me. She says, "Ron, I'm getting nervous." I'm worried that I'm doing so well that I'm getting cocky. What do I do with that thought? Well, what I told her is that, that's not a new experience for people. It's just another story that you tell yourself. And you deal with that the way you deal with all the other issues that you've had. You look at where the story might have come from, what the essence of the story is, and you do what it takes to get rid of it. Now, I don't know about you. I grew up in the Midwest, and one of the big things that we were taught was if you were confident, even not even overconfident, but if you were confident in the way you behaved and all that, people might misinterpret that as overconfidence or arrogance. And people who were cocky, so to speak, if you were overconfident, were going to get their comeuppance. So that was kind of a thing. I'll call it a superstition, And so that's what I explained to this person, to Sandra, and that seemed to work for her. I'm going to follow up with her and give her a call back and just see if that made any difference for her. But don't be trapped by things like that. When you feel good about it, and I tell people this is one of the possible consequences of getting more comfortable flying is that it's almost like you need to replace it with some sort of superstition or bad feeling. But no, that's just another story you tell yourself. There's no correlation between doing better, calming your anxiety, and then feeling cocky or arrogant. But I think that the absence of that can feel like there's a certain void in there. Had another coaching call. We'll call her Claire, and she was getting ready to fly again. Started working with Claire, I think 4 or 5 years ago. And one thing, she brought me up to date. She had a child. She didn't have a child. They were pleasantly surprised and were able to adopt a child, something they had been trying to do. And she noticed that her fear of flying was creeping back in. And many of you out there have had experiences like Claire. Flew for many of your younger years without any issues. And then either when you left home, went to college, or when you got married and sometimes just marriage, sometimes when you had children, you started to notice that your anxiety about flying either started or increased. And I theorized that it's that increased sense of responsibility that we feel when we become a parent that causes the anxiety to creep back in. And one of the things that came up with her, and I'm going to mention a third coaching experience I had because of this as well, is that she had a traumatic event in her life. She'd just left for college. She had a younger brother who was at home, and her mom and dad both worked, and it was in the summer. So he was 15 years old, and he would leave, or 16, I guess, at the time. He would stay at home. Obviously, he was a soccer player, a good athlete, and all that. And one day her mother called up and said that they lost her brother. He died suddenly without any symptoms or anything like that. And it turned out to be a rare, I believe it was a bacteria that he encountered. And he died literally one morning. And sadly, her father came home and found him when he didn't report for soccer practice that morning. And so you can imagine that was a traumatic event for her. And one of the manifestations of that we talked about before, but reviewed again as her anxiety was coming back in because she hadn't flown for a while, was the impact on that. Remember, the brain doesn't like uncertainty, and it tries to fill that with anything. And oftentimes, depending on the severity of the uncertainty or the gap that it opens up, people can fill it up with myths about flying, and those often become triggers. And that's why education is often the path to undo some of those myths. But you can imagine the impact of losing a loved one like that, and the gap that it creates and the uncertainty about that. And so as a result, now the combination of memories from that and coupled with having a child now caused her to really be concerned more about death and dying. And that led me to the other experience about 3 weeks ago. Another former coaching student who was doing well went out there and happened to be taking his family down to Kabul from the Bay Area. and he was, they encountered some really nasty turbulence on the way down, complete with the clouds and the weather systems and all that. And it really rocked him. And turbulence is a trigger for him, no question about that. But this was just above and beyond. And so we spent some time coaching again, talking about this. And again, he had a similar background. He was 15 and he had a 17-year-old brother. He happened to be overseas when his brother died falling off a cliff while jogging up in Yosemite National Park. And he got the news over the phone from his mom. It was crushing. He was by himself over there, so there was a sense of having to deal with it by himself. And then when he came back, you can imagine how grief-stricken his parents were. But the combination of those events. So one of the things that recur and pop back into Andrew's mind from time to time are these recurring thoughts of they take the form with him of trying to anticipate whether or not the turbulence is the kind that could cause a fatal accident or the pilots to lose control or something like that. So we spent some time on that, and we concluded after a while that it's one of those things that you just have to deal with. And both he and Claire are doing some coaching or some therapy on the side, which I wholly support. But and all three of these folks are doing this without medications, which I want to compliment all of them. So they're still flying. That's the big thing. They haven't given up. And I just wanted to bring those in there to show you. I'm waiting for a follow-up report from Andrew because he had another trip with his family last week, and I was going to check back with him. So remember, the brain doesn't like uncertainty, and it will fill it with things that make sense on some level, but may not be factual. So stick with us and let us know. If you need to, if you've never done a 15-minute coaching call with me, please link on that. That'll be in the show notes when we get done. Set it up and schedule it at your convenience. You can do that all on your end of it. It'll pick open spots in my schedule, and we'll get connected that way. And that's a great way to start. And just after we do the aviation news roundup, we're going to talk about moving forward, as I mentioned, into the next level in this coming year for Fearless Flight. Aviation News Roundup, we mentioned last week, and I just wanted to touch on this a little bit. We talked about the Boeing 787. This is really not new news, but it seems to have been re-catapulted back into the news by Delta Airlines when they put out that they had this whip-de-doo program and that was going to help minimize the turbulence there. Turns out it's mainly the Boeing 787 there, and it turns out that the 787 has built into it. If you look at that, it's a truly advanced airplane. We hold off on that one for a minute. It's a truly advanced airplane in terms of design and composition. It's built out of a graphite composition material, and it's extraordinarily strong and lightweight. And that's one of the things about the 787 that makes it spectacular. It's got some really neat aesthetic features, like big windows, and they're electronically controlled. You can dim them and do some fancy things with that. But the thing that's most interesting, I think, to fearful flyers who are troubled by turbulence at all, is the fact that it has built into it a whole slew of computers that literally move the control surfaces independently of the pilot's inputting the flight control or the autopilot. So what it does is it senses an excursion. Let's say you're in level flight and the one of the right wing wants to come up a little bit. It automatically and instantaneously positions the flight controls on the other side and on that side to stop the movement like that. So it's incredible. And I've not had the opportunity to ride on a 787. I do hope to do that sometime in my future. But I think it would be really exciting. So any of you out there, if you've flown on a 787, leave a note on our Facebook page here or on YouTube, and let us know what your experience were. If you noticed that the turbulence was any better, and for any of those of you who might be going out and riding on a 730 or 787, give me a ring up, email me, text me any way you can, and let us know what your experience was on that. Okay. Now, moving on to yet another bit of news on the Boeing 737 800 and 900 Maxes. There was a rumor out last week, and finally this week, Boeing confirmed that they are in fact going to shut down the production line for producing more. Since the accident, I think they've produced 40 Boeing 737, 800 and 900 Maxes. And they were anticipating that the certification might be done by the end of the year, but now it looks like the FAA said there's no way it's going to be pushed into next year. So what that means is they've got 40 more airplanes sitting on the property up there waiting for the airlines to take possession. And even if it went into certification tomorrow, there's no way that the gaining airlines could absorb that many airplanes at once, because airlines are normally brought in over time. And because of the training requirements, they have to pull crews off the line, both pilots and flight attendants, to train them in the 787, and mechanics and all the different parts of the company that are affected by the addition of a new airplane. And so they're going to wait on recertification before they crank up the production line again. And just as a note, orders dried up virtually to nothing until in the last month. They got orders for 30 new 737s from some other companies. So they have, and I said 40, but I should have said 400. Boeing has 400 737, 800, and 900 Maxes in their inventory right now. And like I said, even if they received approval and recertification tomorrow, the airlines couldn't absorb that. So it'll be a little bit before they can bring those back in there. Okay, moving down in there, we wanted to advertise that we are going to have, for those of you who participated in our last online master course class webinar on December 8th, we're scheduling the next one. It's going to be an overwater flying online masterclass webinar on February 2nd. And here's the link here. Is this active yet, Dieter, or is it just?
Right now it goes to the notification list. So as soon as we have the, it up, we will be able to let people know where to register and sign up for it.
Okay, great. And so same ground rules. We're going to have some special pricing on it, and to offer you some incentive to get going on that. And just one last thing about the overwater. It is one of the most sought out questions or Google searches is flying over water. Mainly, for those of you who wonder, what do you do, when you have to land and there's no land below you. So we're going to talk about that in detail, give you a lot of really good information. And there is a chapter in the book on, or a section in the book on overwater flying. So if you're,
if you are watching this, I just want to make sure that we're clear on it. So we're doing the master class live on February 2nd, and it will be, to those of you who purchased access to it, it will be available as a replay. But even if you cannot make it, we'd still encourage you to sign up so that you get to watch the replay. And more importantly, just like in the last class where we went a little bit over, Captain Ron, right?
Yeah, so we're going to go for an hour and a half this time.
Yeah, so it's your questions that really drive the content of that masterclass. And like Captain Ron said, it's one of the topics that we get queried on the most is what do you do when you have to fly over water? So, and
we can't overemphasize. We really want your questions. That will drive the content. And we'll probably go an hour and 10 minutes and allow for we didn't allow enough time last time. I always underplan and over deliver. So, so we did get everybody's questions, but we're doing that. So we really want your questions. That'll help us in building the webinar. We know the basic content, but we want to address your specific questions if we can. And certainly at the end there, both live questions and questions that you submit in advance. So look for that. That's more about the things to come. Okay. The last thing that we wanted to do is talk about everybody has a Christmas special or something. So we had to jump on the bandwagon there, and so we put together a deal on the book. We're getting a lot of good feedback. We got thanks to you who've written reviews, and we're in the stage where we need to get it out there, and we need to impress Amazon that this is something that's of use and of interest to people. So we came up with this idea. First of all, it's a great gift, and you're not just giving a book. And we're talking about the Kindle version right now. Now, so this is the Kindle price or feature. It's regularly $9.99, and we're going to offer it for $2.99. Effective right now, or midnight, or right now.
As soon as you see it, it's anybody's guess. We have put the new pricing up. I've submitted it. Some of you might already see it. I don't see it yet, but within the next couple of minutes to hours, it should be lowered to $2.99, and that's when we encourage you to get it. And we're gonna definitely leave it up there over Christmas until we said December 26th, right, at midnight.
Yep, day after Christmas at midnight, and then we'll take it down. So yeah. Here's some special things about the Kindle book. Okay, the reason I like it is because we designed it as a how-to book and something that you can take with you, literally. And Kindle books, and especially ours, we made it. You know, it's called Malcolm Gladwell has done this with his. He's got an interactive kind of a capability or feature to it. So ours, we have interspersed throughout the book, and for the Kindle version, there are hot links in there. So on different subjects, links to Dieter flashed up there a little bit before. If you want to get involved and take our FearlessFlight survey, which we really would love to have you do that. We're going to be start publishing some of those results that are coming back. If you want to go to that, and there's throughout the book, I think, what are there? There's at least 16 links.
Yeah, there's about 16 different. Okay. Well, we call them jumping off points. You know, like calls to action to. If you're interested to learn more about turbulence, because that's your number one trigger, then we not only do we have a whole chapter for you about turbulence, but then at the end of the chapter, you can actually get for absolutely free a direct link to our expert guide to turbulence and takeoffs, which is a 30-page guide that we have recently updated. So
so we're gonna constantly be adding things, so it's going to be dynamic over time. So imagine you're giving this to someone for a gift. Okay, you know, I remember the old self-help books days. You know, you're with your partner and you're trying to do relationship stuff, and you get the book and you kind of hold it in front of them and hope that they would be reading over your shoulder. Okay, well, we're not doing that. The Kindle book is something that you can, for $2.99, you can send them a link in Amazon, and when you buy if you're not familiar with Kindle, it's a free app in the app stores, either Android or iPhone. So you can download the Kindle link, and now once you've got that, now you can read a book on there. And the beauty about the links is you can, when you're reading along, you don't have to stop, write it down, or do anything special. You can click right on it, and it's going to take you over. You avoid the library, which people in the younger generation probably don't remember. That's an artifact of old people. But it will take you to online, and we do the research for you. So it makes it really handy to get more information and to do a deep dive on things. And you know, the number one pillar of the FearlessFlight method is education. That's the single most important thing that you need to do. You need to learn more about yourself. You need to learn more about the basics of flight, and you need to research some tools and strategies to help you cope. So in the Kindle.
I just want to make sure that that we announced that officially, because Jim Duke was able to confirm that the price is now $2.99 for the Kindle version of the book. So
Jim, you must get tired of us thanking you, because you are definitely one of the top followers there. That, and I'll say a shout out to Walter Kessler again. If you, and many of you see the post there, Walter and I met down there, And typical Captain Ron and lack of planning, I thought I got down there. Oh my gosh, Walter works at Disney World, and he said to look him up. So I called him. Man, on a moment's notice, he and his wife drove over, so I met him face to face. It was a great opportunity, and he told us some secrets about the Epcot and the Magic Kingdom, and helped make our stay down there a little bit more.
So one of the questions that came up. Thanks, Liz. That's a great question. And thanks for letting us know that you enjoy these videos that we're doing. Basically, Liz is interested whether we're going to cover strategies, like how to kind of like plan out your flight, if you will. And we will most definitely do that because, one of the things is, if you do have a map, then you know where to go, and that's exactly what we want to provide. Not only the roadmap, but also the tools that you need along the way. And so most definitely, obviously, if anybody else has some, Liz is asking other people to share, so please do. But like I said, this will be totally action-packed. That stuff that you can take away with when you're on your next flight over water.
So you get an active link that you can, or hot links in the Kindle version. If you do get the paperback version, or get both of them, if somebody wants to actually carry the paperback book version with them, if you're familiar, and we'll be talking about more. We realize that we have to educate people, but there's something called the QR code in the paperback, so you can sit there with your smartphone, and all you have to do is in the new versions of iOS, I know, and I think Android the same way. You position this over the smart code. Once you get into view, the latest iOS update, you get a pop-down screen that says capture, and it takes you right to that website on your iPhone. So again, it's almost as easy as it is just clicking on the link in Kindle if you're doing that. Yeah. So the first one in the Kindle is going to take you to the Fear of Flying survey. If you should get the book, if you're for yourself, or if it's for someone that you love and you're trying to help them get over their fear of flying, just have them highlight the first link in the very front of the book is the Fear of Flying survey, and the next one is to set a 15-minute coaching session. And I almost forgot, we were supposed to announce the special deal, right? For the review and all that. Are we promoting that tonight, or?
Well, we can definitely promo that, because now that the book is down to $2.99, that's really a great way of getting the class to accompany the book, which is How to Overcome Your Fear of Flying 101. It's an 7 modules, 18 videos, on-demand video course that usually we sell for $197 on our website. But if you get the book, and we always say, you know which chapter or which section strikes your fancy first, go there, scan it over, read through it, and if you find that what the information that you got there, we're going to ask you to just give us a quick rating and a review. And if you do that,
easy. What Dieter's saying is, you or your loved one, they get the book, for the Kindle book, for $2.99, and then all you have to do is go to the chapter that grabs your attention the most. Turbulence, flying over water, whatever it is.
Claustrophobia,
anticipatory anxiety, whatever it is. Go to that chapter, write a review just on the basis of how you reacted to that chapter. Put the review up, and then we'll have some more information. But then send us a copy of the review or a link to the review on Amazon, and then we are going to send you a link to a 10 video
18 videos.
Oh, 18. I'm sorry, 18 videos. It's an online course that you get. Instead of paying $197 for it, you're going to get it just for reviewing the book. So we want you to have the book because it really is helping people out there. But we do want something in return if we can, and we want you to give us a review on there. And we're not trying to suck up to you, although we're not. That's not below us. We really do want you to give us some feedback on that.
Yeah.
And so that's the easy peasy way to do it. Get the book, read a chapter. You can do that probably in 20 to 30 minutes, depending on the chapter you pick. And write a review for us. Send us a link with the review in there, and we will send you a link to download this 18 video course and get you on your way. Okay.
Yeah, and that's really a great way, because I mean, Fearful Flyer or not, I shop a lot on Amazon, and one of the things that I certainly always frequent are the reviews in a product or in a book. And if there are some reviews that, you know, obviously grab me, then I'm a lot more aligned with the book or the product that I'm looking at. So
thanks to all of you for helping us when we pre-launched the book. We had a pre-sale for the book, and thanks to all of you who helped us achieve bestseller status, international bestseller status in many categories. Now what we need to do to sustain that is we need to get some of you out there to help us review that and keep it current. So we really appreciate that. Okay.
All right.
Any other news or questions or anything like that?
Well, it looks like some came in for you. Okay, so first of all, big shout out to Valerie. Valerie, she just joined us. Valerie is a student from our Los Angeles classes at the Air Hollywood studio.
Yeah.
And what I would encourage, and I will put up the slide and you can talk about it, but what I would encourage you to do is, if you haven't done so, join our Birds of a Feather Facebook group. It is free, and it's a very supportive, loving group, and great posts from actually Valerie as well, and great comments. And Tracy, yeah, sorry, Tracy, I just saw that. Absolutely. If you got the book back in September, this is available to any one of you, even if you already bought the book and you haven't left us a review. And chances are you aren't, because lots of books, we sold a lot of books, and so we're still hoping to hear from you how you liked it. So yeah, absolutely, Tracy. Just write a review. And then simply, when it's posted, send us the link to it, and I will give you access to the masterclass, the Fear of Flying, or How to Overcome Fear of Flying 101.
Okay, quick shout out to Sean Solch. He said, hello, Kent and Ron. Just wanted to say thanks again for all your helpful advice and kind words on Saturday. We had a coaching session. And tomorrow's a big day. Well, I'm nervous as expected. I'm hoping to have the tools to give me confidence that I need to succeed. Thanks so much for all you do. Thanks to you, Sean, for having the courage to step up and help yourself out too. So he's going to do great. I'm just not even worried anymore. I've been doing this for so long, and you spend an hour coaching, maybe get the flight harmonizer, certainly now add the book to your toolkit, and you can get over your fear of flying. And you're not going to have I won't say that you won't have a dramatic, all your anxiety goes away, but it's not likely, because it's based on habits of thinking, and those are deeply ingrained in you. But you will have the confidence that you're going to be able to manage your anxiety, and you'll have the confidence about airplanes and flying. So with those two things, that's all you need to get out of your chair and into the air. So thanks again for staying with us. If there aren't any other questions, we'll just kind of review what we did tonight. If you're just checking in, or you're watching this replay, then what we want you to do is click on the link to the Turbulence survey. We'd just like to ask you a couple of questions there. How knowing in advance turbulence affects you. We talked about how the brain doesn't like uncertainty. I went through some experiences this last couple of weeks with people in coaching sessions who had suffered losses and had some recurring issues pop back up in their fear of flying. We talked about the 787. If you ride on one of those, let me know what it was like. Send us an email. See if you thought the turbulence was better. It is designed with a whole network of computers that are designed just for flight control management to minimize the effects of turbulence in there. And we talked about Boeing is shutting down production until that 787 goes back into service. Big news was the overwater flying online masterclass webinar set now for February 2nd. Dieter's got that up on the screen again. Click on that. Let us know you're interested. As soon as we get it up and on the internet, we'll send you notification and watch for some special pricing on that. Lastly, again, if you well, second to last, join our Fearless Flight Birds of a Feather group. We're up over 400 people, I think now, and climbing. You guys are doing a great job supporting each other. It's heart-rendering for me to look in there and see the support that you're giving one another. And thanks for anybody who's contributed there. And log on to get some help and support for yourself. And lastly, $2.99 special deal. Give the Kindle book as a gift or get it for yourself. We don't care what the motivation is, but once you get it, pick out a chapter that speaks to you, write a review, send us a link so we can see your review, and we will send you a link for our special 101 video course with 18 videos. So keep us in mind. And one last thing, next week is Christmas Eve, and
you got some strange audio going there. You got some strange feed.
Yep, that's one somewhere. I have no idea where it's coming from. I hear it.
Okay, Bob. What was the last thing? Maybe we can get that through before it's over.
I'll actually be coming back from Cabo on Christmas Eve, and it's Christmas Eve. We assume that you guys have a life out there as well, and so Dieter and I are gonna take the night off of sorts, and we'll be back then on New Year's Eve. We think that's a really appropriate time to fly. So have a great Christmas and a happy holidays to all of you. And thanks for watching Fearless Flight. We'll see you again next week. Oh, 2 weeks. Sorry.
2 weeks. Yeah. Okay. Have a good night.